Sometimes this story can support in exploring emotions like anger, blame, and judgment, especially when others are involved. It can also be an invitation to maintain calmness and composure when mishaps occur and nobody is at fault. The monk who realized he was responsible for his anger is a story about better understanding our own experiences to help us manage our own reactions. There was once a very young, promising monk who lived with his master in a monastery. He was an excellent disciple, a handy craftsman, a spontaneous helper and often a delight to be around. But he had one noticeable issue: whenever he got disturbed by someone during his meditation, he would lash out on them without any consideration. His master noticed this happen on multiple occasions, even as the young monk grew wiser in his other faculties. Years passed on and one fine day, the master told the disciple, "You are initiated, you are free to leave my nest, but," paused the master, "you must meditate in the loneliest place on earth for 12 hours without any break, and that is the final task I am going to give you." The disciple was a little irritated, to be honest. How am I going to find the loneliest place on earth? How does it even matter that I meditate there? But true to his master's final wish, the young monk set out on a journey to find the loneliest place on earth. After months of restless search, he heard from an old tribesman of a tiny natural pond inside a forest on the top of a mountain. The monk told himself, this would be the right place to meditate. A few days passed and the monk finally reached the pond, pushed by his determination to fulfill his master's final wish. Once there, he wasted no time and built himself an impromptu boat. He got on the boat and rowed himself slowly to the center of the pond. It truly felt like the loneliest place on earth and the young monk couldn't be happier. He set himself down on the boat and began meditating. A few hours later, there was a sound of something tugging at the monk's boat. Without opening his eyes, the monk thought to himself, I am in the loneliest place on earth, nobody could have possibly followed me. But just minutes later, the monk felt a knock against his boat. The monk had never been so furious in his life before. Convinced to give whoever it was a piece of his mind, the monk opened his eyes and there was nobody. Surprised, the monk looked down and saw that it was a stray log which had struck his boat. In that moment, he got enlightened. All these years being angry, and not once did he realize that nobody else was responsible for his anger but him alone. He was the creator and consumer of his own anger. And if he alone was responsible for his anger, then it also meant that he alone was responsible for his happiness as well. From then on, whenever he came across someone who irritated him or provoked him to anger, he would remind himself that the other person was merely an empty boat, the anger was within him. Although we are responsible for our own feelings, we are also influenced, heightened, dampened, or muted by others. When a breaking point with an intense feeling is reached, it is easy to blame others for what we are experiencing. In Buddhism, anger is seen as a destructive emotion that arises from delusion and ignorance. It is one of the three poisons or unwholesome roots of the mind, along with greed and delusion. Anger is defined as a state of mind that arises when we encounter something that we perceive as unpleasant, threatening, or frustrating. It is often accompanied by feelings of aversion, hatred, and a desire to harm or destroy the object of our anger. Buddhism teaches that anger is not inherent in nature and can be overcome through mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom. By understanding the causes and conditions that give rise to anger and cultivating positive mental qualities such as patience, kindness, and equanimity, we can learn to transform our anger and develop a more peaceful and harmonious mind. So, the answer to the question everyone keeps asking me is simple. Every time I feel like shouting at someone or being really angry at something, I slow down and ask myself, who is responsible for all this anger? More often than not, the answer is me. If you find yourself getting a different answer, I suggest you set out on a journey to find your obscure lake inside a forest on the top of a mountain. If you think it is worth listening to this story, support us by hitting the like button, sharing it with your friends, and leaving a comment below with your thoughts, or any motivational stories you'd like to hear next. And for more such stories, don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell. Thank you for being an integral part of Wordsworth and joining us in this journey of wisdom.